Welcome to the Free Range Families Podcast, where we, Britt
and Christina, show you the beauty of homeschooling through a lens of faith
and freedom,
and always a bit of humor.
All right, welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone.
We have a really cool episode.
This is an episode that is really something that has been weighing on our hearts for a while, and we really want to talk about it. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that we're doing this season is
very family-oriented.
Family-oriented, and it revolves around this episode.
Yes, it really does, because it all comes back to this. So, and it's weird because it almost was like it kept getting pushed down the road, like kick the can kind of thing. And so we really want to make sure that we are touching on this. So there is an exponential exodus of people, right, beginning to homeschool their kids. Mm-hmm. With that brings, I guess, a return to a really good education, but at the same time, family values. So
focus on family.
That is what our episode is about today, is focus on family and how homeschooling can be restorative in that capacity.
Right.
You know?
And I think there's this push to have homeschooling come back to, like, and it's not just homeschooling. It's like people, they call them granny activities, you know, like the granny.
I'm a granny activity.
But like people are sourdough breading and homesteading and growing their own food and learning to do things back to a more traditional lifestyle. And I think part of that is that we strayed so far in society away from family values, away from that family unit, away from that quiet, comfortable life of, you know, community and family that people are starving for
because it's fast paced and you can't even think from day to day. It's just like get from point A to point B, go to sleep, do it again kind of thing. And so we've really detached ourselves from what it means to be a family unit and be human, you know, and relish those activities with our families.
We need that. Like that is part of education. That is part of our learning. That is part of our growth, is having those family connections and what they mean for not only us, but our children and our generations to come. So
this is kind of a really deep episode, only because when you talk about family, and I actually have a page in Dr. Ben Carson's latest book, The Perilous Fight. I don't know if we got that.
Great book.
And Proverbs Media Group actually gave us this copy, so I was really excited. But of course, I've highlighted it top and to down. But just from the very beginning, he starts talking immediately about family. And it says, rather, the American family is under heavy bombardment and sustained attack. Our enemies have been chipping away at their target for decades, and now they believe the time is right for a full-scale assault. Who will win this perilous fight? The answer is unclear. Yet, as I will show in the pages that follow, the stakes could not be higher. And then I wrote down, the family must win. Mm-hmm. So in my, and Christina's, in our take of this, is that homeschooling can be a tool. It's almost like a gateway to restore these family values and that nuclear family that we are all searching for. And if it's been under attack for so many years, this is a way to kind of come back to it.
And sometimes when you realize that why things are under attack, you realize the things that are under attack are often the most important. Yep. We had some friends in the studio. We were recording one of our episodes that we're going to be doing this season is just kind of a round table with some of our homeschool group. And the thing that they kept saying over and over again was that homeschooling brought their families closer together.
Yep. And closer to God.
Closer to God, closer together as a family unit, and the importance of that. And I know that we've felt that in our homeschooling.
100%.
And I think that is one of the things that people don't talk about enough, of how important homeschooling is to the family unit. You wrote a quote down here that I want to start with.
Okay,
that I think
let's
is
go
really
for it.
Great.
Okay.
Families are the compass that guide us. They are the inspiration to reach great heights and our comfort when we occasionally falter. That is so profound to me, because I feel like today's society pushes, and for decades now, we've been pushing kids to spread your wings, get out on your own. You don't need anybody. You got to do this on your own.
Yep.
And yet the problem is with that is that we have for thousands of years always relied on our family to help support us. And that doesn't, and I'm not talking about like somebody at 40 years old living in your parents' basement and not contributing to society. That's not the support that I'm talking about. But like your family is the compass that guides you.
Mm-hmm.
So your family's morals and values should be your morals and values. And if they're not great morals and values, then we'll, we have to work on that.
I think it's actually, and I'm going to try not to go down the rabbit hole and generalize the fact that over the last 40 or 50 years, the family values have kind of unraveled a whole bunch. Yeah. And so what's happened is we have generations and generations and generations of families where confusion sets in and the kids are out on their own because they're supposed to be, and then when they do try to return back to, there's nobody there for
there's
support.
No one there to return to
because the
parents are not being that compass.
Yes,
that is a parent's job. You are the compass for your child, and you have to have that responsibility. That is your literal job in life is to do that.
As homeschoolers, this is something that is like engraved in our souls because we want to be part of our children's lives. We want them to be part of our lives. We want the time to matter that we spend with our kids. We are not sending them out into the world to be raised by other people. We're raising them and so that they can discern. But that cannot happen if we cut ties with parents or if we unravel the family unit or they're sent out into the world for mass confusion. They won't have anything to come back to.
Well, once again, it comes back to that salt and light article that salt and light argument. Thank you. Getting a little like, but it comes back to that salt and light argument that we've talked about before that, we want to be the salt and light, but you cannot send children out into the world expecting them to be able to do that without a strong foundation on which to grow. They don't know who they are. Yeah. They don't know who they are, and that is what we need to do, and you cannot do that without a strong family unit.
No, you can't. So we would really recommend this. I'd love to talk to Dr. Ben Carson about homeschooling because that would be a cool interview down the road. But he has some great arguments here as to why the nuclear family is kind of dissolved and then what we can do to get it back. So in one of those things, families are getting smaller, not larger. And I think this is an interesting fact because some people would actually say, no, that's not true because we're surrounded
by large families.
That's because of our culture. We foster that idea of like, let's have a lot more children, let's have big families, let's try to, but they're actually getting smaller, not larger. And this is also because, and this is why Cece's here.
Because this is controversial.
Yes. Okay. Abortion. You have birth control. Our replacement level is not on par. So you have 2.1 births for every woman to sustain our population, and older generations will have to carry that burden, that work for the younger generations.
And you just have a cultural shift of, not having large families. Like, no, if you want to maintain, a career, you can't have a lot of kids.
Yes.
And there's certain cultures where one-child programs, like it has been a shift to reduce the family size. Absolutely.
Yes, and unfortunately, it comes down to I am the first person and Christina is the first person to talk about female values and being feminism, but it is actually being flip-flopped. And so the idea of being feminist and being educated and going out into the workforce, we both are educated.
We are strong, educated women who are no nonsense.
We also celebrate our role as a mother. And I think that's the difference is we created this idea as a feminist is somebody that doesn't celebrate their role in motherhood. And now it's gone haywire, Christina.
My gosh. So it's toxic femininity now.
It's so bad.
It's so bad.
And so it forced women into the workforce. And it took away what I would entitle their most important job, and that's being a mom. Because nobody can be the mom the way a woman can or a mother can. It really doesn't happen. And so that is where feminism changed and went from being an act of helping women to be strong in who they are in life.
To have equality in the sense of, growing up, it was job equality, being able to do things, being able to vote. There was a wonderful movement, and it was positive. But then at somewhere down the line, it switched to, no, you are not equal unless you are getting rid of the things that make you a woman.
Yes.
Like, we are more nurturing.
Yes.
That's just a fact. And I'm not saying that men can't nurture and men can't be comforting.
But
they certainly can.
It's a different role
but
entirely.
It's wildly different. And we are nurturing. We are caretakers. We are naturally more designed to create life, and we're gonna go there. We actually can create life, and we are designed to nurture life.
Yes, for the record, this episode is definitely Cece is here. A man cannot have a baby.
No.
And so that is, we're laying the foundation for this. This is not an option. It cannot happen. And so it is erasing women, which infuriates. It should infuriate
every single woman and anybody who claims that they're a feminist. It should absolutely infuriate that women today, the girls in today's society are facing struggles that they should not be facing. They should not be competing against boys. They should not be having to deal with any of this. Like, this is toxic.
It's toxic.
They talk about toxic masculinity. No. Toxic femininity. That's where we are at right now.
It's nuts. It's awful. This liberal, really weird, wacko idea, and I don't know what is happening. Like,
it's hurting the family unit, and it's hurting
destroying
women.
It. Yeah.
More women today. I was just reading a study that there are more women under the age of 30 that are on anxiety medication, depression medication. Like, we're destroying it because you know what? We need this. Women need to care.
Yes.
Women need to have someone that they care for.
And
now,
nurture.
I understand that there are biological problems that some women cannot. That's not what we're. Don't start coming at us with all of that.
Or they just decide, I don't want to have children.
Fine.
That's a fine argument.
But as a whole, when we talk about the vast majority have these nurturing sides to them. And even women who maybe don't have children, they still, if you really look at them, they have a nurturing side.
Yes. And actually, hormones are related. When a woman cuddles their children, oxytocin. Is emitted from so the kids get the benefit. When a husband wrestles their children, the same hormone, but it's different. It's just like breastfeeding.
Yes.
Our breast milk changes depending
on the child's needs. If the child is ill, we actually produce that. You can't fake that. You can't science that, okay?
Yeah, we're not just, what is the word they've been calling us? As
chest feeders?
Chest
no,
feeders,
thank you.
or like, we're a birthing person.
No,
I'm sorry.
I'm
a mom and I have a uterus, and a man cannot have a baby. Unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger in Twins, which we right? Maybe
that was a different movie. That was a different movie.
Was it Twins?
No, Twins he was twins to Danny DeVito.
Okay, what was it? Junior. That was it. But he did.
It was all science fiction.
All science fiction. That doesn't exist.
But again, this push to, and please understand that we're not saying that women can't work. We both work. We both have had careers. We both have multiple careers. We still work and homeschool our children and do all of that. I'm a big proponent of a woman having a career that they want. Being educated and doing all of this. Absolutely.
Yep.
Do what feels right for you and your wants and needs in life too. Like, I wanted to go to college.
Yes.
I wanted to have careers. And then a switch came and I wanted to have children. And it was amazing to me.
That's biologically appropriate, and that's what's supposed to happen.
I was very career driven until I had my first child.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, the career goals, I started to rethink them. And it wasn't any outside pressures.
No.
It wasn't anything besides, wow.
My child needs me.
My child needs me, and I want to be by my child.
Yep.
So I had people telling me, like, but you were going to be a superintendent of schools. I was like, yeah I was.
Yep.
And then my priorities changed, and I'm fine with that. And I'm happier. I am so much happier where I am now. And even now, having this, I've decided in the past 3 years that I'm pulling back from photography. Not completely, but I've definitely massively pulled back from it because I want this time, because my children
it's gonna be over before you know it.
A blink of an eye.
I know.
So we make these changes because they are what's best for us and our families.
Yep.
And that is what moms do.
So I saw this, and this is kind of the opposite argument. So this is where I cross over into the other. I saw this reel, I guess you could say, and it was a mom or a woman saying that the society that we've created, or I would say the elites have created for us, is to become worker bees, go into this system. It's impossible. You have to have insurance. You have to afford a home. A girl has to work. It has to go to, you have to go to college, car insurance, all this. There is no time, and they hate it. This mom was just saying, I cannot stand it. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
I want to be educated. I might want to have that job, but where is there time for me to do what I really want? And that is to nurture and have a family. And so unfortunately, this is what's happened. It's been created like this, so it's almost impossible. And then birth rates are declining, and we're in this.
And the economy is in shambles, and our inflation is through the roof. So it's nearly impossible for a young family starting out
to not have both incomes.
Yeah.
So then that brings me back to kind of the podcast that we just had before with the ladies on. There is a sacrifice to homeschooling, and it is a financial sacrifice. It's a financial sacrifice, but it's also something that morally you have to really look into your heart center and be like, hey, I'm going to do this because this is what I know is most important for this time period. There will always, I had somebody tell me, there will always be a time period to go back to work full time. If you want to go back to work full time, do it after you've raised your children. Yeah. And I mean, raising your children never stops, but do it until they're able to live on their own.
Right.
Okay. And so we really need that pendulum to kind of swing back, and homeschooling can provide that nurturing, family center.
Well, it brings you back to what is important in life, and it is raising the next generation.
Yes.
And you're not just raising the next generation, you're raising the generation after that, and the generation after that, and the generation after that. Yep. Because what you do now will have an impact for decades to come.
Yes.
And that's what people need to realize.
But also, if we don't fix it, if we don't, take back this idea that a feminist has to go out into the, workforce and not have children, and, it's ridiculous. And we can get into the whole, I know I did. I just wrote this letter to AOC, and it was called The Liberal Hypocrisy of Misogyny. Oh. Because there's been this rhetoric that we're misogynistic, people, and it's not. It's so opposite of that. Misogyny is actually erasing women. If we're going to get into this whole thing, it is actually the opposite of what's happening. So women really need to realize that we want to celebrate who we are. A man should celebrate who they are.
They have their strengths. We have our strengths. And guess what? They work together.
Yes.
And they're wonderful.
They're meant to work together.
When you actually celebrate who you really are and find a partner in life who also celebrates who they are and respects that you bring something to the table, they bring something to the table, that is when you have a really healthy marriage.
Yes.
And B, a really healthy family.
Because you're showing your children what this looks like. Mm-hmm. So, to me, when you send your children off into public school, it can happen, but it's going to be more difficult than when you foster this homeschooling kind of environment for your family.
Right.
It's much easier.
Because instead of fighting against and constantly having to undo what's been done, or just not having the time to focus on your family. Yes. Because in public school, these kids, especially when they get to those teen years,
and they have extracurriculars,
go. I mean, it's awful. Yep. The parents basically, what do? You see your kid to wake them up, if that, and then you see them for a half an hour at home before they have to, barricade themselves into their room to do all the homework and.
Yep. Actually, it's sad to me, Christina, because I was groomed to think this way. And I'm going to say the word groomed because I was groomed to think this way. In fact, I had an assistant principal look at me and tell me that my child was going to be fine if I put them in daycare because I needed to take a job. Yeah. And everything in my heart, I had this like sick feeling was saying, this is wrong. I can't do this to my child. But I was just waking up in the morning, sending him to the babysitter. You know how it was, teaching all day long, then coming home to put him to sleep. Mm-hmm. Was he getting what he needed from me? No, absolutely not. We started having anxiety issues. That's when he was diagnosed with Tourette's. It was like a spiral out of control. But because I was conditioned, and I think it's healthy to look at this and say, honestly, I have regrets that I let it go that far. He was in second grade before I finally pulled him out of the system because we're told that this is how it's supposed to be.
This is just normal.
But it doesn't have to be like that. Be normal.
No. And I mean, for me, it was the birth of my oldest, Zen. I went back to teaching. I realized at that point, I don't want to go through full on the administrative route that I was going. So I'm like, no, I'm going to take a step back from that. But thinking that was going to be enough. And that first year, even though he was home with his father, even though we had grandparents helping out, we didn't have him outside of the home. Yep. That was a miserable year for me.
It's miserable.
The entire time I was thinking, why am I not home with my child? Mm-hmm. Why am I getting updates from dad who can work from home because he's got that type of career that he can do that? Why am I not working from home?
Yep.
What can I do to change my situation? And then once the second one was born, I was like, I'm out. I am done. Yeah. I am not going back into that rat race. Yep. I am going to do this my way.
I think there's so many women that have this guilt on their shoulders because they think that they've been conditioned like we were to going to work, and they really want to do something different and they want to be home.
But I have to provide for my family.
Want to be home with your child. You're actually doing it for your child. So we have to switch that mindset. It's not, women that stay home with their kids sometimes get a really bad rap for being like selfish and lazy and I just want to sleep in and paint my nails. That's not what happens.
The ridiculousness of like, what did you do all day?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I was really grateful because I had a husband who did stay home with the baby and did work from home with the baby as much as he did. And so like there was never any of that like, what do you do all day? He knew because he did it all day. Yeah. But I'm saying, but even from a man's perspective, men need to want to have you should want to have the mother of your children raising your children, not someone else.
And there's a huge
and what sacrifices do you have to make to do that? And then, people are like, well, that's unfair. Is it though?
No, it's really not. Did you choose to have a child?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to get into this. I really feel like once you have a child, well, I don't feel like this is how it is. That child is your responsibility. You are responsible for them growing, raising
for a life.
Yes, for an entire life. So take that responsibility very seriously and do the best that you possibly can. And if we really focus on that aspect, you will see that homeschooling can provide that element. Mm-hmm.
And the one thing that people need to understand that if you still, let's face reality, a lot of people can't not work. Okay. A lot of people, maybe there's a single mom, single dad, we could have a family where you can afford for both parents not to do some type of income producing activity. Homeschooling still lets you have that connection with your child that if you sent them away to public school, you would not have because the thing is that we get to
it's priceless.
We get to spend these little moments of time with our children. And so when we do have to work, it's not that big of a deal anymore because it's like, I'm not really missing anything.
No.
I'm not missing time with them because, they happen to be home during these government approved times.
Yes, right. And time is influence. That's it. Time is influence. So if you're giving somebody else your child's time, or if social media owns your child's time, or if anything, then it's taking away from your influence, which you should be the primary influence in your children's lives. Period.
There's nothing wrong with that.
That is how it is. So then that brings me kind of to I'm skipping over this, which I probably shouldn't do, but the social media aspect and the vital connection between parent and child has been eroded by social media. And so, I don't allow Ryan to have, or my oldest, we did this phone thing when they were 12, which was different than what I thought. So we have to be able to adapt, because I didn't have a phone till I was in high school.
I didn't have a phone till college, but I'm older than you.
It's different, right?
I had the old Nokia brick phone, all right?
But they're not allowed to do Instagram and Facebook and that kind of thing. And there's a reason for this. And if you can monitor this with your children, all the power to you. I don't want my children seeing some of the things that are on social media until they're developmentally appropriate, because what happens is it makes them confused. Yes. And so this gets into the whole cyberbullying, pornography. I mean, we're questioning who we are, if we're supposed to be in the right body. That gender affirming stuff happens via technology a lot of the time.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of the problems come from the fact that parents are also obsessed with social. They're just obsessed. Mm-hmm. Like, I see so many parents that are not interacting with their children because they're on their own phones. Yep. Put your phone down and talk to your kids.
Yes.
I mean, really.
And it actually you have to make eye contact with your children. So this never even used to be something we would talk about before social media. Like, making eye contact with your children, having them respect you, you respect them, you're really listening to them. When they see you have the phone and like, okay, yeah, cool, it means it's signaling to them, I don't really care about what you're talking about, and I'm not here for you to talk to me about it, so go find it somewhere else.
And you know what?
They will find it somewhere else.
They will find it.
Yes.
But we've all gotten sucked into it. I mean, there have been times that, like, I'm with my family, and maybe this just happened last week. You and I were having a text back and forth conversation, planning for this. Yep. And I've got my kids and my husband asking me questions, and I'm like, hold on. I just need to, because like, I couldn't handle the multitasking at the time. I was like, no, I'm tired. I can't. I just got back from a trip. I can't handle the multitasking. I'm like, I need to finish this, because otherwise you and I will not be ready. No. And I'm like, I'm wait. And like, my husband just goes, you need to put the phone down. Yep. And I was like, you're right. I do. But you need to give me literally 30 more seconds. 30 seconds. Hold on.
Just finish.
Put it down. And then I'm like, put it away. Yeah. Because they needed me. Mm-hmm. And I needed to be there for them. I did need to do work. But what I realized I wasn't doing was I wasn't giving them the respect of saying, hey, guys, I need a minute. Yep. Let me finish this, and then I will give you my full attention. I was doing the social media, like, even though it wasn't social media, I was doing that social media thing. I'm like, but I'm invested in this, and nothing else matters right now. Give me.
So it's distraction. Yeah. That's the problem, is that we have gone to, kids could have been distracted by other things in the past, but now they have this battle against social media being a huge distraction, and also prying on certain things. We all go through maturity things in life where we're questioning. I mean, I was the biggest tomboy.
Oh, me too. This is where we're going to get into this gender role thing.
I liked board shorts and like skater stuff, and that was just, it was fine though. Yeah. Nobody asked if I
was a tomboy.
Nobody asked if I was a lesbian. Nope. Nobody questioned my gender role. But now, if you are even in that headspace, and say your parents aren't paying attention to you, you're lonely, these kids have an outlet. They go to their phones, they look, and
I need to find someone that understands me.
Yep. It's gender dysphoria, and they are making them confused, and then next thing you know, it's unraveled into this huge catastrophic situation that parents aren't even realizing is happening before their
parents need to parent.
Yes.
And that's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow.
That's why we have Cece here, is because,
and we're not saying that we're perfect, because we've screwed up more times than we're not perfect people.
No, I've caught my daughter scrolling YouTube, and I'm like, and she's like, Mommy, I saw that. What? What is happening? Yes.
But, we're not perfect, and we make mistakes, but parents need to parent. And part of the reason we need that family unit, and the reason that having a mom and a dad at home that are connected with each other, is that, like, I can't tell you the number of times that my husband has said to me, hey, you're kind of screwing up right now. And I'm like, right. Or I've said to him, hey, you need to, the way you spoke to them, that's not cutting.
Yeah.
We are each other's like Jiminy Crickets. We call each other. We're the little conscience on the shoulder, and that's what
you're supposed to do.
That's what your spouse is supposed to be. Your spouse is supposed to be that person that can say to you, "Hey, listen."
And there's different things
you got to do better.
Yes, and dads have a different way of disciplining than a mom has a different way of disciplining, and this is appropriate roles, and it's supposed to happen like that.
And it's important for them to see both of that, because that is, it helps shape who they are and what they do in life and how they react to different situations, how they react to, they're going to have female bosses and male bosses. And guess what? We're different.
Yes.
The way you speak to the way a female boss interacts with her employees is very different than the way a male boss interacts. And that's okay.
It is okay.
And you need to learn those things.
I think the way that homeschooling is such a benefit too, though, Christine, you just hit on it, is when a child starts questioning things, they're going to look for that sense of identity or to mask the loneliness with, because you don't want to be lonely, and you sure don't want your teens or your middle schoolers to be lonely. But when you're saying, oh, there's a community for you here, and this happens on social media, the community should be your family.
Yes.
And that's why we had focus on family. It should be your family first.
Family, what do we say? Families are the compass that guide us.
Yes. So they should come back to being like, hey, mom, dad, I'm feeling a little, weird about this. And we should be their cornerstone that they can talk to about this, not seeking that because we're so busy or we're sending them off in the world too young for people to raise. Other people are raising. They're seeking this in different avenues. And then guess what? The tentacles come in. It's easy to control. These kids are confused more so than I never even growing up would have thought we would have been here with this crazy gender backwards roles thing. Like it just doesn't make sense. So,
but the thing is that I hear all the time, like, oh, people complain about the teenage years so much, but the biggest complaint is my teen doesn't talk to me. My teen has an attitude. My teen just does whatever they want. I don't know what they're doing. Why not? My teen talks to me sometimes. Like, I'm like, dude,
it's always at midnight.
Sometimes but I'm always like, hey, we've actually talked about it. Like, can you maybe figure this out? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no.
But he'll come to me about something that a group, there was this group text and something was said in this group text and I'm not sure how to respond to it. I'm not sure what to think about this. And so we'll talk about it. I'm like, do you think that that's serious? Do you think that that was in jest? Do you think that, what do you, helping them through those things, but he's coming to us. Yeah, but he's coming to us going, Mom, Dad, you're the experts on this. Yeah. I need your guidance. Yep. And that's what we want. Yes. We want our teens coming to us and saying, Mom, Dad, I need your guidance.
That can only be given, though, with ample time. And so if you take away that time, and time is influence, and your kids spend the majority of time in school, online, at extracurriculars, and then you're just seeing them for a moment, you're not going to get this.
You're not their guidance. No. You're not their compass because they don't spend enough time with you for that to happen. People laugh at us that we have family dinner every single night.
Yeah, no, I love it.
Every single night. Yeah. And some nights it's early, sometimes it's at 4:30 because that's just what the schedule entails. Sometimes it's at 6:30, 7:30. Like whatever whatever it entails, I'll tell my kid no, you need to have a snack because we're having a late family dinner tonight.
Family dinner. And so you've put priority on that. Some families, for us, we try to do that, but it might not always happen. Right. But what does happen is we always come together at some point during the day to talk, whether it's play a board game or we're actually talking. But you have to be able to have that.
You have to make time a priority. Yes. You have to make connection a priority.
Yes.
In whatever way that works for your family, however that works. If I know families that homeschool that, dad takes morning shift, mom takes night shift.
Yes.
You may not be able to have that same amount of time together, that daily, 5 o'clock family dinner. I get that. But how can you make that time a priority? Yep. What does it look like for your family?
Yes.
It's going to be different.
And it's all circling around the same thing. This is why I focus on family. You're not saying, hey, so-and-so is teaching my kid for this much of time and I don't know who they are, but that's a new teacher and this person is doing Bible study over here, but I don't know who. Because honestly, sometimes, and this is another thing that I have, you can send your kid to Sunday school, you can send them to that, but you don't actually know if that's going to help. Maybe they're just learning stories and it's not enhancing their relationship with God. That all of that comes from the family unit.
Not only do you not know what's being taught, I mean, that's a big thing, but you don't know how your child is actually internalizing it. Right. You don't know what questions they have. You don't know how to then guide them through their journey of life. Properly. No. You have no idea.
No. And so, given all of that, if you want, and especially if you came from a cycle where this wasn't, you can break this cycle and you can return things back to the family, the nuclear family that is supposed to be happening, and we will be better off generations to come.
I mean, I came from a divorced household.
Me
my
too.
parents got divorced, and it wasn't pretty.
Nope.
My parents got divorced when I was a teenager, and that was actually part of why I graduated early and went away to college to get away from that. Because I was like, I'm done. I don't want to be around this. This is not a good environment for me. I had older brothers who were already off doing their own thing, so
and actually that I skipped over this, but that was one of the things that divorce is easy.
Well, because we have a society now that's like, if it doesn't work, just get a divorce.
Throw it out. It's this throw out, this toss out, cancel. I'm done kind of thing.
Get married because it's convenient. Get married because, you're in lust with the person. You're not
no.
It is so important to go back to traditional values of marry the person. First off, marriage.
Spend the rest of your life
they should be your best friend.
Yes.
And they should, and marriage is work. That's what we both are. In our 25 years almost
that's
here,
married to us is going to have a lot of work cut off because we're both very strong-willed people. But
we also have strong-willed husbands.
We do. Yes.
But it's because we're fighters.
Yeah.
We have chosen, and our marriage, we have people tell us all the time, oh, you guys are so cute.
Yeah.
You just have the perfect marriage. I'm like, no we have had some really hard ups and downs, some things that
I think the hardest is dealing with the cycle. So we all came from divorced families, but undoing that cycle and really putting our foot down saying, this is not normal. This family dysfunction is not normal. And so are we going to make it better? Yes, we're going to make it better with our generation, and we're going to move forward here.
And we're going to fight for marriage.
Yes.
And we're going to fight for that happiness and for that relationship that maybe we didn't see what we want.
So that brings me into a whole nother aspect, and this is where Cece needs to take a deep breath.
Deep breath, Cece.
Because I have written articles about this too, but when you say bring it back to that whole idea of that marriage is really important, the idea that a man, a woman, and a man all can be in the same household together, call it whatever you want, polyamory, okay, and this is fostering some sort of amazing situation for children, that is confusion at its a man and a woman. I mean, this is existing.
I know.
Christina, this does happen.
I know.
So, and it's mind-blowing because you have a little baby, okay, and there's pictures out there. We can post them on this podcast, but I think it's the CEO of the Late League, she just quit. She said that I'm not doing this anymore because they're pushing chest feeding. There's a woman that is transitioned, okay, but is feeding or a man that is grown breasts because of hormones. So then you put this in a house with a baby. What do you think the kid's going to end up being like? You think that kid's going to end up being confused? Like, Mom, I have a penis. I'm saying this. I have a penis, but I can grow boobs?
Yeah. No.
There's silence on my end because this is ludicrous, Christina. And so if we're trying to save and really develop good people for the generations to come, we don't want them to be confused about their identity from birth,
Or, you get to choose when you're older. No, you don't. I'm sorry. You're born that way.
Yeah.
The thing is that...
Our nostrils are
deep breaths.
This is
deep
nuts.
Breaths. The thing is that children need stability.
Yeah.
Children need stability.
If you want to have okay, this might be a rated R kind of thing, but if you want to have an orgy kind of thing in your house with like multiple partners, do it on your own time, but don't involve children.
Don't involve children. Children need stability.
What?
And the thing is that and I just had this, oh my gosh.
Sorry, and I took your thought away.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this because I just had this conversation with our teens in book club Monday. We just were talking about this.
Sorry, we were sick. We missed such a good book club.
You missed such a good book club. Oh my gosh, such a good, like, really an in-depth discussion from the teens talking about like their future. It was all about looking to the future. And then it was talking about like sex and marriage and to like, go ahead, play the field. It's fine. And of course, like my child who I've had these conversations with, he's like, well, actually, he's like, the reason we have a problem in today's society is the hedonism in today's society. And like, I'm not kidding, coming from a 15-year-old's mouth, because we've talked about this. He's like, we live in a hedonistic society where it's
self-serving constantly.
It's self-serving. Just do what feels right. You know, it's like fine. And he's like, realistically, he's like, what people don't understand is the you want to talk science and biology. I'll talk science and biology. I have the degrees to back it up.
Yeah.
All right,
well,
we're going there.
Like, just go watch animals.
But like, if you want to talk biology, when a man and a woman have sex, guess what's released?
Yes.
Oxytocin.
Yes.
Guess what? That's a bonding hormone.
Yep.
So that is meant to bring that relationship closer together. And when you're having multiple partners and you're doing it, like, you're not having that. You're not creating that stable bond. You're not creating that. You know, and you're not creating a stable home for that child. Like, I get it. People, sometimes divorce is necessary. There's abuse situations where, like, please understand that we're not like, oh no, stay with an abusive husband.
No,
please don't.
Please don't.
But there's this idea in society today, and it is part of what I consider that toxic feminism
super toxic.
Of like, it's the toxic view of, well, if it does, you know, like, just try, get married for a little bit. If it doesn't work, like, no, you should be going into this I'm a penguin. Penguins mate for life, you know? Like, no, I know. Who's my penguin?
It's a
like,
lukewarm feeling of marriage. I'm going to work on this,
and I know that there's going to be hard times.
Yes.
And there's going to be challenges.
But that's what marriage is about. You're supposed to be able to try to work. You pick that person to raise a family so that you can work through the hard times together,
with, because they are your partner in life. And like, marriage is not 50-50. No. It's 100-100. And sometimes somebody's 100 is only 10% because that's what they can give right then. And then you know what? Your partner picks up the slack, and then it's flip-flops. And but you're always all in.
Yes.
You're always all in.
Yes.
And that's what we need to teach our kids today. And that's where bringing this full circle back to homeschooling, we're teaching our kids that we're all in. We're all in for the family because we are making the sacrifices
so much to stay home so that we can teach you guys.
Because they are important.
Yes.
And kids need to know that they are important. They are the most important thing to
and in that sphere of what we believe in, it's our responsibility. Yeah. So it's a very strong rooted
responsibility. It is a God-given responsibility.
Yes. We are supposed to be teaching our children.
Family.
Yeah. Not allowing some other people to teach them, or to teach them that it's okay to have these weird relationships with all these people and then call that a family, because it's not.
And like, time is influence.
Yes.
You know, you talk about Israel Wayne. We've talked about his books before.
Yeah, I think.
This
one
is
of his books. One of my favorites. Education Does God Have an
But
Opinion?
But like, who really owns your child's time?
Yes.
You know, who is influencing your child when they're not in front of you? Everybody but you.
Yep. And in fact, I'm going to read this because Israel breaks this down in his book. He says that he challenges every parent to reflect, asking themselves, who owns your child's time? Breaking down a 24-hour day, he puts parents' influence in perspective in this day and age. If a student hopefully sleeps for 8 hours,
which we know is not true. We just did a podcast that they're not getting enough sleep.
They need to sleep for longer than that, but they hopefully sleep for 8 hours. Then they spend 7.5 hours at school, including transportation and getting ready and all this other stuff. And then another 7.5 hours on multimedia, which is the average.
That is such a scary statistic.
I think they're decompressing. So they go and they're like a hamster in a cage, and they come home and they're like, I'm just zoning. Because when I'm tired, I want to binge watch something on TV because I just want mental, like, I don't want to think about anything.
I go home and like after our podcasting days, like I go home and my family's like, oh, she's just gonna. I'm like, I need to read a book. I take my Kindle and I'm like, I am just gonna read my like silly books.
Well, that's because, for the record, and this is a tangent, we are both social hermits, is what I would call us, where we're
extroverted introverts. We can fake it.
We are fake it to make it. We can enjoy this kind of dialogue, but then we need to put like our hermit thing, and then I need to recharge my batteries. And so,
yeah, they're doing that. But there was how every parent hears it when your kid is going into kindergarten, they tell them, remember that they're going to come home and they're going to be
so
they're going to be crazy. But then they're going to cry. They're going to act out because you're their safe space.
It was half day kindergarten and then they made it whole day. Do you remember that? And then oh no, I'm sorry, but you can't put your kid in half day kindergarten. They're not even ready to do that. They take a nap in the afternoon. Now you want to put them for a whole day?
Because it helps the parent go back to work.
It's ridiculous. And so then you have 7.5 hours of media, right? Which is mind-boggling to me. And then the child only interacts with their mother or father for an hour a day. It's even less with their father for only 29 minutes a day. And this is in his book. And it is just crazy. The thought of that makes me sick. Yeah. But I was there when I was working full time, and I only saw my son to put him to sleep at night. And you know what? Internally, that anxiety and these things that were manifesting was a cry for help. Like, Mom, I am confused. I don't want to go to daycare. I feel abandoned and I need you.
But also think about it from the mother's aspect. It's no wonder so many women are on anxiety and antidepressants right now, medication, because they're not fulfilling their need. Yep. We need that.
We need to take the pressure off. I think that's a big pressure. Yes. So when you have the pressure for a woman to go to school, go to work, do this, and be the homemaker, and be the mom, and this, the women are, it's like a dopamine crash. So we are losing that thirst for being who we are supposed to be.
And I'm going to caution women, who haven't found their person yet, find the right person that helps you.
Yes.
Because so many women are like, but I have to do it all. No, you really don't. If you don't have a partner that takes and in his own way takes part of that pressure off and supports you, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. You should probably rethink it. Yeah. Just a little bit. So I would suggest that if you are concerned about your family unit and really having that time with your kids and kind of making this return back to the way things were should, I would read both of these books because they're really good books. And then I want to come back to, it's Deuteronomy 6:7 reminds us to teach them diligently to your children when you sit in your house and when you walk by the way and when you lie down and when you rise up. This can't happen if we don't own our child's time. Yeah. And it's super true. So how can homeschooling remedy this problem?
It will create better humans. Done. But it's true.
Well, and children and mothers and fathers.
It allows you to have the time to better yourself.
When it forces you. We just talked to on our last podcast, Priscilla, and I'm going to shout out to her, but she had a really good epiphany that when we first started homeschooling, she didn't have the patience. Yeah. She didn't have the patience because she was accustomed to them being away from her. Yeah. She had to relearn that and have the patience with her children because you're supposed to. Mm-hmm. If you're saying, I can't stand my children.
Yeah. I need a break from my kids. I mean, okay.
Everybody needs a break.
I think we all need a break from their kids. Something. But they need a break from us. But the break is, hey, let's separate. Let's go. Let's all read or go to our rooms, do something. You go play your music. And then we come back together as a family and we talk through whatever issue has been had because everything brings us closer.
Yes. And that is what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be closer together as a family unit. So children raised in traditional families do much better in terms of overall health and success in life, and those raised in broken or polyamorous families. So, and we're coming back to this oxytocin
Children need structure. They need to, but this goes back to like, if you even from a teaching standpoint, we learned this in all of our education classes. Children need structure. They need discipline. They need rules. They need boundaries. They need, it's a safety better.
Thing, and we're supposed to provide those boundaries.
And say, hey, here are your boundaries. Yep. Now, within those boundaries, I want you to explore. I want you to create, critically think. I want you to push those boundaries a little bit and understand, why are you pushing them? Why do we have them? Learn from that. But here's a structure, because structure is safety.
So it's funny. I actually enjoy my kids questioning, because I think it's part of higher thinking. Like I'm creating thinkers. I want them to question things, but they aren't even able to feel comfortable questioning. Most children questioning things, questioning authority. If you think about the average, and this is another generalization, but the average homeschooler, okay, I think could probably feel safer questioning things than a public school that's been like, because they have this safety net of parameters and structure that they know, hey, this is what my parents give me. Okay, cool. But I'm going to push it a little bit, and then I'm going to see what happens. Yeah. So our time will be spent focusing on our family, growing it, and raising arrows. If you homeschool, that is what your time is spent on. Yeah. You know, you're really trying to raise arrows to hit that target down the road, not just, hey, go ahead and figure this out on your own.
Yeah, figure it out on your own, or go into the rat race. Like, we're big about not being in the rat race.
No.
Because you know what? So many people, I see it in my own family, I see it everywhere, they're just constantly doing, and I've asked them, when do you rest?
I get tired because our schedules are
Your schedule is much more busy than mine.
That's because I gave my kids the option. Yeah. And I'm like, well, they should all swim. But I gave them the option of fostering what they like to do.
Which is, you're a good mom.
It's good, but it is exhausting because you're pulled in all of these different directions. So
we do that too. We just also, we take a season we take a rest season. Yes. And we say, hey, this is going to be we're going to go into our rest season. Yes. Coming out of our rest season, what do you want to do?
Yep.
But we're going to take a rest season because we tend to do it in the fall when we start school up again.
Yeah.
Because it's an easier transition, and we notice that they're better able to manage their time.
I think it's a good smart time to do it too.
Yeah, and what they want to do, knowing what they really want to do, as opposed to that sounded fun, and then halfway in, I am really done with this because I'm overworked.
Well, and I think that we have again been conditioned to being busy. Yes. So it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people. I know it is. A lot of people are very uncomfortable not having anything to do. Like, hey kids, we don't have any plans this afternoon, so why don't we do family dinner and go for a walk? Yeah. That's unheard of in a lot of places. But when you homeschool, you have more time to do that with your kids. So and, we're going to come back to a child needs both parents, male and female, for different reasons, even down to biology and hormones. Children react differently to both parents, and it's super true. They get
different things from each parent. Yep. Absolutely.
And the government shouldn't have a thing to do with this.
We don't co-parent with you.
Just saying,
no, seriously.
Seriously,
And this goes back to, we're going to have a whole episode when we talk to Nikki Truesdell. We talk about government involvement in everything. And if we allow government into homeschooling, we are really, we're not allowing government into homeschooling. We're not allowing government into the education at home. We're allowing government into our home, into our parenting, into taking over how we actually raise our children, and that is a slippery slope that we do not want to be falling down.
And every family does it differently.
Yeah.
Every family manifests this culture that is individualistic to them. And so I don't want anybody telling me hey,
you have to do it my way.
Yeah.
Your way doesn't work for me, my way doesn't work for you, and that is
okay. And that's the whole reason we homeschool.
Yep.
That's the entire reason we homeschool, is because we didn't want, they talk so much about in public school, and we know this from coming into, is diversity and inclusivity and, all equity and all this other stuff. But really, it's not. You're just forcing them into this boxed in system. Whereas when you homeschool, you're fostering a totally different ballgame, entirely.
So we have a quote that we're going to end with, but I think we're going to still talk a little bit. But we want to wrap up with this. The family you come from is important, but the family you create is everything.
Yes.
You, as a parent, are creating a new family unit, and that family unit is so damn important.
Yes, it is.
That is what we want to, as we go into the holidays, as we go into, that time where we are supposed to be fostering family. let's really reconnect and think about
it would
how
be a
we're
beautiful
doing
thing. It gives me chills. It would be a beautiful thing because that's what it really is about, is we're supposed to have this connection with each other and not really the gifts and all the craziness. We want to come bring it back to the family.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going into the holidays now.
Yep.
Let's think about how we can bring the focus on family through, if we are gifting, what are our gifts doing? Are they bringing us closer together, or are they separating us?
Yes.
Because
so
that's
actually,
important.
We just drew names because we draw names. I think we might have talked about this on Thanksgiving episode. But I love it because it forces my children. It does force them. It forces my children and us to focus. And it doesn't mean don't focus on the whole family unit, but focus on one person and learn them.
Yeah.
So our rule is that if you had that person last year, you can't have them this year, so that they get to learn their interests, and then they're growing these bonds together, you know? So if you can bring it in or do some sort of tradition with your family.
We do the instead of like really big gifts, we do places. We go experiences. We take that time and say, hey, we're going to create our family bonds and memories together of things that we love to do, hiking and visiting national parks. Like, we're big on national parks.
Because at the end of the day, they will remember that, and it will make them better and stronger than the things that they get that are tangible, that you know, really get buried in desk drawers, or that you know, don't have anymore. So yes, going into the family season, you know, maybe slow down a little bit, cancel some of the things that you have to do, go for that walk. It's okay to not be busy. You shouldn't be, and try to start a new tradition or bring it back
Even if you haven't done this, if busyness is your speed right now, you can always make little changes. One night a week, family game night. One night a week of, you know, okay, let's sit down together and let's have a dinner together. Let's cook together.
We start a fire in the backyard, and we just all sit around and have hot cocoa. I know it sounds cheesy and stuff, but it's the cheesy stuff that
remember.
Yes,
and that brings you closer together.
Yes, they will. I do have. I put this out here. You know, I have a daughter. It's funny because we have boys, and then she's like the only girl.
She's the only girl.
But it was really it's different having a daughter. So
don't know.
In today, I know,
but I can imagine.
In today's world, where I struggle so much with what's happening with erasing women and the ludicrousy of having, like, you know, men in women's sports and all this stuff. So it was already difficult for us, Christina, growing up, you know, body images and, you know, everything that we had to go through. But today, I could not imagine being a girl in today's society and trying to be like...
to navigate all of it.
No. So if you can homeschool, this is a good book. It's called Raising Maidens of Virtue. And I like this book too. But it just talks about bringing those morals and ethics back to what it means to celebrate femininity. Like, that's...
celebrate being who you are.
Yes.
A woman.
Yeah. I don't.
We're kind of awesome.
I know. And they do use different restrooms, for the record. Yeah. I went there.
Oh, that was great.
I know. And
on that note, we want to take some time to, first off, let you know that we are going to be taking...
Oh, yes.
A focus on family. On that note, we are actually taking a focus on family. We're going to be, since we put out these episodes on Wednesdays, and the next 2 Wednesdays are both Christmas and New Year's, we're going to be taking some family time. So we will be coming back after the new year, because we want you to understand that it is absolutely okay to take time for your family. It's
the right thing to do.
It's the right thing to do. So we're going to wish everybody a
happy holiday.
Hanukkah. We're going to say Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah.
Feliz Navidad.
Feliz Navidad.
Because we're by the border.
Yes, we are.
And we have, you know, Hispanics in our group. Feliz Navidad.
So enjoy the holidays. Spend some time with your family. Focus on them. We're certainly going to be doing that.
Yes. 100%. Baking cookies. All that jazz.
We'll see you in the new year.
Okay. Cheers. What did they say? Shalom.
Shalom. Really? Mazel tov.
Mazel tov. Join the revolution, guys. We are 5 million homeschoolers in the U.S. and growing, breaking down the walls of institutionalized learning.
And remember, if you like what you're hearing, don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and most importantly, share with others and help us get the word out about the beauty and freedom of homeschooling.
And speak up. Go grab yourself some cool merch that we designed while you're at it.
See you next time.